Let me start with some good news for a change. If you've been watching the headlines and feeling like the whole country has been priced out from under you, like there's nowhere left in Australia where a pension actually goes far enough, I want to tell you that's not quite true. It's harder than it was, but there are still places, real places, where you can live well, stay connected, and not lie awake doing sums at 3 in the morning. The trick is knowing what to look for. Because the cheapest town isn't the answer, I've made a whole video about why the cheapest towns are often the loneliest. What you actually want is the sweet spot, affordable enough to breathe, but still close enough to a hospital, a chemist, a supermarket, and other people that you can have a proper life there. So in this video, I'll walk you through the kinds of places and the specific signs to look for where your pension still genuinely stretches in Australia. And I'll save the best category for last because it's the one most people overlook entirely. Let's get into it. First, the regional centers. Not the tiny dying towns, and not the capital cities, but the solid middle. The regional hub towns of 15, 20, 30,000 people. These are the places that have a base hospital, a couple of supermarkets, allied health, a bus network, clubs and libraries, the bones of a real community, but housing that still sits well below the big city median. Roughly speaking, you can find rentals here for a meaningful fraction less than you'd pay in a capital. For a pensioner, that gap is the whole game. The same fortnightly payment that leaves you stretched thin in the city can leave you genuinely comfortable in a town like this. The human detail I keep hearing from people who've made this move. It's not just the money. It's that in a town this size, the doctor knows your name, the pharmacist remembers your script, and you stop being a number in a queue. There's a dignity in that which the savings don't even capture. Second, the inland over the coast. Here's a pattern that holds up almost everywhere in Australia. The closer you get to the water, the more you pay for it. The same kind of town, with the same kind of services, will often cost dramatically less an hour or two inland than it does on the coast. People are paying a heavy premium for the sea view, and if you're on a fixed income, that view can quietly eat your whole budget. I'm not saying give up the water entirely. I'm saying look at the inland twin of the coastal town you love. Often there's a river, a lake, a set of ranges, and a cost of living that lets you actually enjoy your retirement instead of funding a postcode. Third, and this is one people forget, the outer edges of the bigger regional cities. You don't always have to leave the city you know to find affordability. On the fringes of the larger regional cities, there are established suburbs, older homes, mature gardens, quiet streets, where prices are a long way below the glossy inner-city numbers, but you keep the hospital, the transport, the shops, all of it. For someone who wants to downsize without uprooting their entire life, this is often the most painless move of all. We're about halfway, so let me say the thing that ties all of this together. The number that matters isn't the price of the house. It's what's left in your account at the end of the fortnight. And that number is decided by three things working together: your housing cost, your travel cost, and your health access cost. A place is only genuinely affordable when all three are manageable. A cheap house with a 90-minute drive to the nearest doctor isn't cheap. You've just moved the cost from your mortgage to your fuel tank and your peace of mind. So as we go through the rest, I want you measuring every option against those three numbers, not just the listing price. That's the difference between surviving somewhere and actually living there. Fourth, towns with a strong club and community base. This one isn't about geography, it's about fabric. Some towns, regardless of price, have an unusually rich web of clubs, men's sheds, community gardens, volunteer groups and services pitched squarely at older residents. In a town like that, a modest pension goes further than the dollars suggest, because so much of a good week, company, a meal, a hobby, a hand when you need one, costs little or nothing. The affordability isn't just in the rent, it's in the way the town is built to look after the people who live in it. Fifth, and here's the category most people overlook entirely, the 2-hour ring around a capital city. Everybody fixates on either the capital or the deep country. But there's a band, roughly a couple of hours out from the big cities, where you get a fascinating combination. Prices well under the capital, services that are still genuinely good because the town is on a major transport corridor, and a day trip's distance back to the city for the big hospital appointment or the grandkid's birthday. You're not isolated, you're not broke, you're in the in-between, and for a lot of retirees, the in-between is exactly right. The people I've heard from who landed in this ring tend to say the same thing. They felt like they'd cheated the system. Same country, same access to what matters, for a fraction of what their old neighbours are still paying back in town. So let me bring it all together, because the real answer to where can a pensioner still afford to live in Australia isn't a single town, it's a checklist. Look for a regional centre, not a dying village. Look inland before you look at the coast. Look at the outer suburbs of the bigger regional cities before you assume you have to leave. Look for a town with a thick community fabric. And take a serious look at that 2-hour ring around the capitals. Then, and only then, run every option through the 3 numbers: housing, travel, and health access. Because the Australia where a pension still stretches absolutely exists. It's just not where the scary headlines tell you to look. It's quieter than that, more ordinary, more livable. It's a regional town with a good hospital and a busy bowls club and a house you can actually afford. And there are more of them out there than the doom stories would ever let on. If you'd like, I can go deeper on any one of these in a future video. A proper rundown of the best regional centres, or the best inland towns, or that 2-hour ring around each capital. Let me know in the comments which one you want first, and I'll make it. I cover what's really happening across Australia: the cost of living, the regional towns, retirement, and the everyday changes most reports skip. If that's useful to you, subscribe and stay with us. I'll see you in the next one. This video is for general information and commentary only. It's not financial, legal, or relocation advice. The figures mentioned are approximate and based on publicly available information. Always check official sources and make your own decisions.